Back in 2021, Marvel released the first ever animated series for the MCU called What If, which is like taking certain moments from the MCU and adding a different spin to it of like, what if this happened instead of what actually happened. But one of their most popular episodes was the fifth episode of the first season, What If Zombies, because where most of the Marvel heroes and villains were and to zombies in a zombie apocalypse, and it's up to the remaining heroes to escape this apocalypse. Let's try and save them. While I haven't watched all of What If, I did watch the zombies episode, and it was really good. It knew how to mix the action intensity, the horror, and even a bit of humor. Man, hard to make a really great episode. And since that episode became so popular, Marvel decided to turn that into its own animated series with Marvel Zombies, releasing it just in the week before or October in time for the month of Halloween. And I was quite curious about this one. Of course, I had to watch the What If Zombies episode first. As before I could watch this series, but I was quite curious to see what ideas they would have. And I gotta say, this series is awesome. Like, maybe it's not the best thing you'll get from Marvel this year, yeah, but I had an absolute blast when watching this. It's the best thing I can say about the series is the action. This series does not hold back on the action. As this is kind of a horror series, the horror mixes well in the action to make them more intense and insane and exciting. Whenever the remaining heroes have to escape a horde of zombies and try to survive without being bitten, then that's where the intensity to rise is to make the moments as action packed and exciting as possible. Well, I will say another one reason why it would be for the animation. And I think for the most part, the animation is great. Keyword for the most part. Because there are some times where I do think the animation does look a bit flat, and some designs of some of the characters are a little off. I do appreciate it to say it was for doing animated depictions of their live action counterparts and staying true to them as much as possible. But even I feel like it could have been a bit better. But still, the animation is definitely the best with the action, and is a reason why the action is the best thing about the series. But if you're coming into a series based on the apocalypse, you've got to have some survivors that actually want to see if I survive this apocalypse and put a stop to this. And the main survivors we get, or at least the main characters dealing with this apocalypse, are quite interesting. Whether the roles are also minor, like for one or two episodes, or they managed to last throughout the majority of the season. Each of the characters are very interesting in their own way, and when some have to make their own sacrifices to save others, first like Melina in the first episode and Yelena in the second, and they do a good job of showing the emotional impact. Not to mention how the series does take its time for the characters to grieve their fallen teammates but they happen, instead of rushing towards the next big action sequence. But the main one of the survivors and the main protagonist of the series would be Kamala Khan, who I was honestly surprised they decided to make a main character. But yeah, as the series goes on, it makes so much sense. And as at the start of the series, in the first episode, so Kamala's team either with Kate Bishop and really Williams, who are like best as friends and in this universe, as and the main ones trying to stop up this zombie apocalypse the best they can. And however, after Kamala loses she is more determined to stop the apocalypse more than ever. But Anne finds it hard when she makes new friends and then loses them again. And as her determination grows, she is willing to do go to any lengths to try I prevent this apocalypse from happening. And to put a stop up to it. Some of the other survivors are also very interesting. Shang-Chi and Katie from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings were a night. I was surprised, and I was surprised they were able to let us throughout. Wow, I created a bit. It's a fun and seriousness with the final 2 episodes. So I was a bit surprised that Yelena, Milena, and Alexi didn't have as huge of a role as I was expecting to, but I really liked all of them, especially with Alexi mixing in his own humor with his heart and emotion, and having Baron Zemo look like the main survivor is the one, and that most has to be taken out with when the zombie apocalypse was a creative activity, but an idea. That does suit the character work. As for the zombies themselves, yes, they are technically just zombie versions of the main MCU characters, but they are a lot more interesting than you may think, mainly because of who's in charge of them, the Queen of the Dead, and who turns out to be Wanda Maximoff. Man, if I had a nickel for every time on the MCU presenting Wanda Maximoff as the main villain on one of their projects, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's a way to have them twice, right? But anyways, back Act 1 Wanda, that she fits really well as an antagonist. Yeah, she's not revealed into the final 2 episodes. But I really like her relationship with Kamala, trying to get Kamala to help her throughout the last 2 episodes. And when Kamala eventually does help her, but Kamala's put into a situation where it looks perfect on the outside. I bet it's only an illusion of what Wanda wants her to believe, even leaving the series on an intense cliffhanger, which I'm sure or leaves the door was open for a series 2. But yeah, under what her role always quite minor, she does suffer as a villain. Then going into the 4 main episodes, they are mostly all great, and I really did get invested in all of them. However, the only one I found to be quite weak was the 2nd episode. I don't know. I felt like that was the one that dragged on the most. The pacing for the series is pretty great, but I think showing on the opening of how Shang-Chi and Katie survive, Ivan then how they join the other heroes on the ship that's supposed to be like a paradise left by Zemo, felt a little but us and dragged out, and despite ending on a great finale, that is the episode I thought, yeah, it could have been better. But other than that episode, that doesn't change the fact that I had a great time with Marvel Zombies. It's not the best thing you get from the MCU this year. but it has a great cast of characters. The story itself is quite interesting. The action is intense and exciting. The voice acting is really good. But any animation, while not perfect, is still good for what it delivers. But if you're a fan of Marvel films and horror, then you're most likely going to have a great time for this. However, I will recommend that you at least watch the What If Zombies episode first, so you'll have a better understanding of certain events, especially in the third and fourth episodes. Oh, but that doesn't change the fact despite that, you're going to have a fantastic time with this series. I feel like Marvel has been pretty good with the animated series issue if your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and Ice Wonder, but this is easily the best one of the three, and that's why I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!